This video is quite important for all the students. So first of all, we'll talk about legality and then we'll move on to some key terms used in the course so you don't misunderstand or have any problem. So is Hackintosh legal? So if we talk about Apple's history, you might understand that Apple has been taking legal actions against people who have been jailbreaking. It may be hardware modifications, it may include repair as well. So if someone, if third party non-Apple authorized store opens up your hardware and modifies it, or even cleans it, even dries the phone in case it is wet, then Apple is taking legal actions against them. So yes, it is illegal to install OS X, and if you are caught, you might face legal actions. Besides that, Hackintosh is quite hard to install. So once you have installed, you are basically the god of operating system installation, or god of hackers actually. So it is quite hard. Only like out of 100%, only 80 to 60% might be able to install it, and in case you have previous installation knowledge, you can do it. So now let's talk about key terms. So first one is bootloader. Bootloader is something that runs before the operating system. So once you have your BIOS, so after that the bootloader comes into play, and even before BIOS, and then the operating system boots. So this is the bootloader, which is before the operating system. So one of the bootloader is Clover, and there are two bootloaders for Hackintosh. We have Clover and Chameleon bootloader, or Chameleon bootloader. Then we have boot flags. What are boot flags? Boot flags are basically instructions for the bootloader to run the hardware. So for example, if you have a new graphic card, you can tell the bootloader not to run the graphic card. I'll be explaining boot flags in detail in my next video. So where are the boot flags stored? So in Hackintosh, boot flags are stored in config.plist file. So basically a file is present which is more of an XML file. In case you know what is XML file, it has hierarchies, and inside that all the bootloader or boot flags are stored, bootloader settings are stored basically. So you can tell your computer to not boot the graphic card or not boot any file. So where is the config.plst file? It is inside EFI folder, and we have almost hundreds of motherboards available in our course, and we have EFI folders pre-configured for a particular motherboard. So EFI folder has config.plst file. Config.plst file is actually inside the EFI folder, so we'll talk about that later on. Let's move on to kext. So kext are basically drivers. Like in Windows we have exe files which are used to install drivers, and exe files are actually installers or executable files, but DLL files or something like that, in case you know what are DLL files. So similar to that, we have kext in Hackintosh or OS X. So that are the key terms. Don't worry if you haven't understood anything yet. In the next video we'll start everything, and hopefully you will understand.